Hi Ben, how you doing?
Well, thank you.
So, where did you go? That barely affected, the world around us.
I had orders to Vietnam to arrive approximately June 10th, 1969, for a one-year tour in combat, in country, flying helicopters for the Marine Corps.
So, were you drafted or did you enlist yourself?
I enlisted. My father flew B-29s in World War II, and even though I was married and I had an exemption, I still felt that in 1966 I wanted to serve my country and support the Constitution and the democracy. The Cold War is mostly misunderstood. Non-conflict. It was very conflictional.
So, what did you do while you were in Vietnam, specifically?
My specific duties was to fly helicopters for the Marine Corps, and that included a plethora of missions. The Army used the Huey helicopter to do most of their missions. The Marine Corps used the CH-46, which was slightly larger, much more stable aircraft, could carry up to 20 troops. So we did reconnaissance, insertions and extractions over the border into Laos, even though we weren't supposed to be there. I was there June of 69 to June of 70. And I flew a lot of medevac missions and troop insertions and extractions during strike operations. So, and a couple of admin missions and airborne reconnaissance, but not many of those. Mostly face-to-face conflict missions, combat, 863 combat missions, over 1,000 missions total.
1,000 missions. So, do you think that you were in Vietnam for like a very good reason? Do you think you're in there for good, or?
That's an interesting question. I could go on for quite a long time. I was there to serve my country and to support the Cold War objectives of getting more of the third world nations into democratic and capitalistic frame of mind, as opposed to the communist USSR is not just Russia, but many, many other satellite nations. And we were trying to win over as many of third world nations to democracy and capitalism as opposed to communism, which was an ideal that sounded good on paper but didn't really work. When I got there, I found that our government was not as forthcoming as I would like it to be. I had to make a conscientious decision, and I decided to be there for individual freedom for the South Vietnamese people, even though we put puppet governments into the regime, which was just about as bad as the communist ones. It's quite complex, and it turned out that I was there for a very meaningful reason, and that was individual freedom for the Vietnamese people, and to save as many American lives as possible, because we went in with our hands tied behind our backs and half blind because of the rules of engagement and the fears that our government at the time, I won't name any names, but Lyndon Baines Johnson and McNamara are their initials, and they were not very good people. So I went there for individual freedom and to save American allied lives.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time.
That was my honor. My father flew the same way in World War II, so it was my turn to step up for the ideals of America.
I'm with James R. Miller, and he witnessed the planes crashing at 9/11. And what were you doing on 9/11?
Although I was the chairman and CEO of General Dynamics, I was also the chairman of a company called AmerisourceBergen in the drug distribution business. And myself and my team were in New York City to open the stock exchange on 9/11. And we witnessed, of course, the tragedy that occurred on that morning. We were having a board meeting at the exchange, and all of a sudden we heard this loud roar. It was only about a block and a half away from where we were having our meeting, and there was a lot of rumbling in the building and so forth. And at first we thought it was probably a small business plane citation or a Cessna citation that hit. He was diverted. Then we went on with our meeting, as a matter of fact, and about 10 minutes later we heard another just similar thing, and we knew that something was wrong at that point in time. And the officials from the New York Stock Exchange came into the meeting and told us we would have to evacuate and go down into a bomb shelter, which was in the basement of the building. And we proceeded to go down there, and the rest is kind of history. We were down there for about 24 hours. We could not leave. We went out the next day, and we actually walked to Midtown New York, and got a train over to New Jersey. That's where our plane was, and we waited a couple more days before we could fly, because there were no flights in the United States or in the world for that period of time. So that's kind of the background, and you got some more questions, I'm sure.
How do you think this event affected the world globally?
Well, it certainly affected any air travel in the United States, as all of you know, from the security strictness that we've got now, and I think we're on alert continually in this country and in our allies in France, England, Germany. You know, the awareness level is much higher. The Afghanistan war, the Iraq war has started as a result of this. There's unrest in Egypt, Syria, throughout the whole Middle East. So it's had a large effect, and it will probably go on for all of our lifetimes.
How do you feel about the American involvement in the Middle East?
I think we, as much as I dislike the fact that we're losing lives and so forth continually over there, I think just because we are part of this world that we live, it's necessary that we do be involved, because I don't think anyone else would take the leadership required. Sure, France, England, and Germany all get involved, but we all take a lead position in all of this. Yeah, I think it's probably necessary.
In your opinion, could the United States have done anything to prevent this?
I know, I think this was a rogue event, and I'm not sure that anyone had the smarts to thwart this kind of thing.
How do you think the war on terrorism is going, and do you think it is helping the people in the Middle East?
First of all, relative to your first question, I don't think we are winning the so-called war on terrorism. And all you have to do is go to any airport, and you can see that we're being adversely affected by it. Air travel is a pain in the neck compared to what it was before. So I've got to say no. And the fact that we're still sending troops overseas, and we'll probably be sending more, indicate that we're not winning. You see the recent events over in France and over in England, where there are terrorist attacks. So I've got to say we are not winning. But I think the real losers are the people in Afghanistan and in Saudi Arabia and other places, Iraq and Iran and so forth. Because most of these people are great people, and I've traveled through those countries for the last probably 30 or 40 years, and they're wonderful people. But we're talking about the rogues, the terrorists, and so forth. They give a bad name to everybody. And you talk about profiling, and every time you see somebody in a burqa or so forth, you assume that they're part of the bad people. And chances are that 99% of them are good people. So it's not helping them at all, and they're being really adversely impacted. Again, those are my personal views, and
Thank you.